Today on the DML News podcast, Joe Biden puts out an executive order to keep himself hidden from the public and how dumb he actually sounds. And there is a fantastic new ad out by President Donald J. Trump just in time for the election. Michael Cohen is back in the hot seat. George Soros is spending $80 million to censor us all. And we have so much to talk about today. And it's all unfiltered.
Dennis Michael Lynch gives you his word, and he will never let you down. He will always fight for America.
The only one who really puts his money where his mouth is Dennis Michael Lynch.
Hello, I'm Dennis Michael Lynch, and I thank you for joining me today. It's a nice day here for me to be back. I've been back. Unfortunately, I was out for 2 days still trying to fix this mouth. Ran into dry socket. That's a lot of fun. So anyway, I want to thank the boys for holding the fort while I was gone, and also want to thank all of you for supporting them while I was out. Also want to say thank you to the thousands upon thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people who are signing on now for the Great American Newsletter. It's a new initiative that I'm doing every morning. And of course, people who are still using the DML News app every single day, you're seeing the boys, the new true.news website. Everybody is just raving about it. Everybody loves it. The new format, everything is nice and clean and real easy to use. If you want to sign up for the Great American Newsletter, you can do so. It's a little clunky in terms of how you have to do it, but that will get better by next week. Right now, if you want to get there, it is greatagain.squarespace.com. That is greatagain.squarespace.com. And you can sign up for the newsletter. It gets to your inbox every day at about 5:30 a.m., and it's just been sensational. Dennis, one of the things that I'm going to write tomorrow, because every newsletter opens up with the DML report, it's sort of a quick 3, 4, 5 paragraph sometime essay, if you will, me giving my 2 cents on what's happening. I am going to pretty much be talking about the situation with Joe Biden and the executive order that he just signed moments before we started doing this program. Why don't you tell the good folks what it is that Joey Magoo is doing this time to try to hide the facts?
Yeah, so this comes out of Politico. President Joe Biden has asserted executive privilege to block House committees from obtaining audio recordings of his own interviews with special counsel Robert Hur about Biden's handling of classified documents. Hur's description of those interviews, laid out in the 345-page report, fueled a firestorm over the president's memory and mental fitness. In that report, Hur said Biden came across as a well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory.
So the amazing thing is, because the other thing, too, we're going to talk about here today real quick right now, is it's a little old in terms of news. It's 24 hours old. But yesterday, Joe Biden agreed to the challenge of Donald J. Trump of sitting in for a debate. Now, you could say he agreed to the challenge, but he had to change the rules. One of the things about that's coming up in July, we've got this great big fight from Mike Tyson and YouTube star turned boxer, actually pretty good boxer at 9-1 right now, Jake Paul. Jake Paul's 27 years old. Mike Tyson's 57 years old. A lot of people are like, wow, 57 years old, going to get into a ring with a 27-year-old who's built like a brick, what house. But if you watch Tyson fight, it's pretty insane. In fact, Ryan, what I want you to do right now as I'm talking is just take one of the Tyson B-rolls and just show how he's fighting. It's insane. But one of the things they did for that fight, Dennis, is that they changed the rules. In a boxing match, usually it's 3 rounds of 3 minutes. I'm sorry, it's 12 rounds of 3 minutes. Now I think they've made it 10 rounds of 2 minutes. So they're making it a shorter time frame because at 57 years old, it's a little harder for him to keep his steam. The other thing they did was that the boxers in heavyweight bouts usually have 10-ounce gloves. They made it 16 ounce. So this way there's more cushion. So, if Tyson's going to get hit at 57 years old, it's a little bit softer than if it was at a 10 ounce. Although I would really say, based on the video you just watched, it may be Paul who is getting the benefit of that one. But regardless, I remember when I saw those changes made, there was a part of me that said, as much as I love Tyson, maybe he shouldn't be fighting. If you've got to start changing the rules as they're designed, maybe you shouldn't be fighting. The same goes here. there were rules set in place by the Biden campaign that had to be in place in order for him to agree to a debate. One of those was that Fox News, they didn't come out and say it that way. They came up with this little slimy way that the prerequisite to hold the debate had to be that you had certain other debates, and it was just crazy. And they did it on a criteria where they knew Fox News had no chance to host a debate. So now it's either CNN, ABC, CBS, or Telemundo that's going to host debates. Not one bit of friendly fire there for Donald J. Trump. But more importantly is it's held in a studio instead of being in an audience. And, Trump does well with an audience. In fact, he does sensationally well. If he gets a heckler, he's great at a comeback. If he gets, cheering, he goes off the momentum. Joe Biden, on the other hand, is distracted by that sort of thing. He can't react to it. He's too cognitively slow. So they've changed all the rules. So this way, Joe Biden can actually perform, which is insane, really. So my take on this is that it is so unfair that Donald J. Trump right now is sitting in a courtroom, unable to go out and raise money like Joe Biden is, can't speak. An appeals court yesterday rejected the ability for Donald J. Trump to have that gag order lifted. Michael Cohen's allowed to get on the stand, will be on the stand again today. In fact, he's on the stand right now, shredding Trump. Trump can't respond to any of it. And then Joe Biden, the part of where the country would actually be able to see Joe Biden fumbling all over himself when he's not on amphetamines, like he was during the State of the Union, in my opinion, he doesn't have to show his video. He is allowed to censor the country in the sense that you're not going to see what it is that I said or didn't say or bumbled and fumbled over myself. So they're stacking the deck in every single way possible to ensure the fact that this election is not fought on even playing field. They're lifted, we're demoted, and yet if you don't like it, tough, you know what.
It's really ridiculous. I wouldn't blame Trump if he went back on his word of said, anytime, anywhere, because, they're meaning Biden is completely skirting the actual commission that's supposed to handle those debates. And, you got Jake Tapper and Dana Bash, those aren't neutral, fair people.
No.
Everyone tries to paint Tapper that he is, but when it comes to Trump, he is very biased. So,
and there's nobody worse than Dana Bash.
Yeah, exactly.
Same thing. I mean, you might as well have Nancy Pelosi host it.
Yeah, no, there was even, I think it was Catter, his joke was like, so Trump's going to be debating Joe Biden, Jake Tapper, and Dana Bash on June 27th. And it's true.
It's true. It's a 3-1.
Yeah, and even if the audience thing wasn't a factor, they are making it so that the mics get cut off, without interruption, which again, what happens when Biden spews?
It's not without interruption. The bigger part of it was that your microphone gets cut off when your time is up.
Right. Yes. But what I'm saying is when you got Biden, who's going to probably spew 10 lies in a row and Trump can't rebut that because his mic's off, it's going to be a very tamed and probably a painted debate.
And the reason why they're doing that, and I can tell you right hands down why they're doing that, is because they want it to be where Joe Biden doesn't get a distraction. When he's distracted, the focus comes off because that's what those amphetamines are going to do. They're going to keep his focus, that he's going to be wired in like this, and he's going to be asked the question, he's going to come back. Now, you throw a curveball at him, like some heckler in the crowd saying, "Fuck Joe Biden, chung, 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 chung," or "Let's go, Brandon." You're going to throw him off. The other thing Trump knows what to do is it's like a broken boxer, going back to the Tyson thing. If Tyson hits Jake Paul and Jake Paul's against the ropes, this is the equivalent of he gets a timeout. If I get hit and I'm against the ropes, timeout. You got to turn off Mike Tyson's gloves. Because when Joe Biden starts spewing out some BS about the border, let's say, and Trump wants to go and hit him, he's not going to be able to. And so Biden can't be thrown off his game. And if people see him thrown off his game, they know that there's not a chance. Now, to that degree, Dennis, the reason why Biden's agreeing to this in the first place is because he sees he's so low in the polls. They need him to go on stage and rattle Trump with the, hey, at least you got Wednesdays off. All the other days you're in a jail, and you know what? You're going to be in a jail full time by the time this is all done. So Biden is doing so poorly that they have to throw him out there on stage. You don't have any other choice. So, and especially with all the things that are being said about his cognitive decline, it's his chance to prove, I don't know what anybody's talking about, but here I am front and center. I'm ready to fight you, and I'm good to go. Now, with that said, I know you have some 2024 polling from
Fox News.
From Fox News.
Yeah. So it's measurement of who is leading in the presidential race. Trump's current 1-point edge over Biden. Actually, I'm sorry. Trump in most national polls has been narrowly ahead of Biden for at least the last last 6 months. They wrote this weird. He also tops Biden by 3 points when potential third-party candidates are included, such as Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Cornel West, and Jill Stein. So, based on most national polls that they're averaging here, Trump is holding a lead over him.
That's funny because I looked at that poll too. In fact, I'm the one who sent it to you, and I was surprised because in the other polls we're seeing a 10-point lead. And that's one of the reasons why we're going to talk about George Soros in 2 seconds. So get ready for that whole thing. But the other rule that Biden wanted in there was no third party, because Biden realizes the fact that RFK is a threat to him. Because, some people say it's a threat to Trump. It's not a threat to Trump. If you believe in America First principles, secure borders, and the basic tenets of conservatism, you want nothing to do with RFK. The only reason why people fell in love with RFK from the right is because he is slamming the vaccines. You take out that narrative about the vaccines and there's nothing about RFK that's good. So he is a threat to Biden because the Democrats know they need an alternative. And remember, he was a Democrat. He only went over to independent because he couldn't get himself on a debate stage because, again, the Bidens and the Obamas knew that if you put RFK in there, Biden would be pushed aside. It's the same thing as Bernie Sanders. They do everything to silence these guys. Now, with that being said, let me put this in. If you're not going to have RFK in there because you don't want him to be throwing shade over Joe Biden, and Trump is only allowed to say certain things, and then he's gagged, well, there's only one sector left to gag. And that's folks like you and I and Ryan. That's folks like everybody else. You name the person who's got a conservative podcast, who's got a video or show or anything, they want us censored. That's why I started the Great American Newsletter, right? We talked about this. We said, what are we going to do? I can't do walk-in talks anymore. They only show 100 people at a time. What are we going to do? We got to bypass the censorship. And it was a brilliant call on my end. I'm always ahead of it because George Soros is now dumping $80 million into efforts to censor people like us on social media. Dennis has the details.
Yeah, this comes from Newsbusters here. A massive effort spearheaded by a censorship-obsessed group financed by leftist billionaire George Soros is looking to incorporate global pressure to push big tech platforms to juice their censorship operations before the 2024 U.S. presidential election. Free Press, a Soros-funded media group that claimed responsibility for helping get former President Donald Trump banned from Twitter, is at the helm of a new push to restrict free speech online. Quote, more than 200 groups urge leading tech platforms to implement election integrity policies to protect democracy worldwide, Free Press blared in its April 9th press release on a new co-signed letter by groups around the world. In the letter, the anti-free speech groups raged at social media platforms like Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube for reducing, quote, interventions necessary to keep online platforms allegedly safe and healthy, and demanded swift action to protect so-called democracy. MRC research unveiled that at least 45 of the signatories have had their coffers packed with Soros cash to the tune of a whopping, over $80 million between 2016 and 2022 alone.
Yeah, so what's going to wind up happening here is very, very, very simple to see. And again, and if it sounds like I'm pushing the newsletter, I am. Let me just say that the newsletter has no advertising on it. The newsletter has no money attached to it. I am funding it completely on my own, and the bigger it grows, the more it costs me.
Yeah, I mean, just really like this letter that was distributed to the big tech platforms.
Yeah.
Discord, Google, Instagram, Meta, Pinterest, Reddit, Rumble, Snap, TikTok, Twitch, YouTube, and Twitter. So they're trying to get everyone.
They're trying to get everyone. Now, here's the thing, okay? Trump had the awesome ad. And did we play that ad already? Let's play the ad.
Hey.
An ad like that is so uplifting. It makes you feel as if America can be great again. And it can be. It can be. As quickly as Joe Biden has destroyed it, Donald Trump can bring it back. It's going to be more work on Trump's part. I mean, it's just starting alone with the illegal alien invasion. That's the toughest one there is. Inflation, not hard to do. You could turn it around. There's the ebb and flow of the economy. You put in some good policies. You pull out some other stuff. You start drilling again. Before you know it, you're back on the road to happy. The stuff with the illegal aliens is a bit of a different story. And that's going to be very, very difficult to do, but it can indeed be done. And it will be done. George Soros, he doesn't want that. When you look, and we're going to talk about Michael Cohen here in a second. When you look at what's happening in New York City right now with Donald J. Trump being held over a hot stove where they're looking to burn him to a crisp, and you say, how did we get here? I'll tell you how you got here. There's no doubt. You can look at Biden all you want. You could look at the DOJ all you want. There's one guy, George Soros. George Soros knows that the way in which you manipulate this country is that you strip what makes us special, and that is the rule of law. So the money that George Soros has put into United States elections is downright wrong. Why nobody does anything about this is beyond me. If Trump gets back into office, which I believe he will, he's got to work with Congress to have this changed. George Soros has basically radicalized our courts by giving money to judges in their elections. He has basically destroyed district attorney offices throughout this country, especially in the blue cities, and we're seeing that right now with Alvin Bragg. And as far as I'm concerned, he has spread propaganda to the people who are on these juries who are basically lefty to begin with, because if you're having a city-based court trial, cities usually draw Democrats. So look at what Trump is up against right now. He's up against an almost all-immigrant jury. He is fighting against a judge who is highly Democratic and has a daughter who is a Democrat operative. And of course, like I said, Alvin Bragg, who he wound up donating to his campaign big time. So George Soros realizes how you manipulate the country by you strip the rule of law. And then what you do is you take the microphone away from the Dennis Michael Lynches of the world by means of taking away my platform opportunities like Facebook, silencing it. So this way I don't dare talk about the border problem that Trump isn't allowed to talk about right now because it's racist. It's not fair. You're talking demeaningly wise when it comes to people who are down and out and just looking for a better life. And so these are the things that they're working on diligently in the Soros camp and in the radical camp. And I got to tell you, they're going pretty far with this. And the best way to tell that they're going pretty far with this is what's happening in New York City right now with Michael Cohen being on the stand. And Lord knows what's going to come out of today. They're going to grill him. You know, the defense is going to grill him today. But the fact that we've even gotten this far, this should have already been a mistrial. And I'll tell you why there's a mistrial. Yesterday, on Capitol Hill, a former lawyer that was associated with Cohen, who was representing Cohen,
Robert Costello,
Cohen signed a document that said that there was no client attorney privilege. So now this guy can speak freely. And we're going to play right now what he's telling Congress about Michael Cohen and the kind of person he is. Play it.
Through further cross-examination, Cohen told me that he knew there was money missing from the Trump inauguration.
I see where you are now. Thank you.
Okay. And then on the next page, into that first paragraph, Cohen decided that while he didn't believe the allegation of the Stormy Daniels story, that he thought the story would be embarrassing for Trump and especially for Melania, so he decided he would take care of it himself.
Absolutely. And that is contrary to what this guy testified to in court in New York yesterday.
Well, and what's not being talked about is your next paragraph, like the reason and his motivation for that. So if you could just kind of walk through that for the committee.
Yeah, obviously, when we started to talk about the NDAs, and this is the very first meeting at the Regency Hotel, when, by the way, Rudy Giuliani was not involved in representing Donald Trump at that time. Cohen testified that it was a conspiracy between Giuliani and Costello as of this date. Totally false. In any event, he also said that he didn't discuss the Stormy Daniels matter with us, and he certainly did. I specifically asked him because he kept on going back saying, I can't believe they're trying to put me in jail for these NDAs. So I said, Michael, tell me about the NDA. Tell me about Stormy Daniels. What did you do? He said, I got a call from a lawyer representing Stormy Daniels who represented that she was going to testify that Donald Trump had sex with Stormy Daniels. Michael Cohen said, I didn't believe the allegation, but I knew that such an allegation would be terribly embarrassing. He said it would be embarrassing. He focused on Melania Trump. He said, I didn't want to embarrass Melania Trump. He said, that's why I decided to take care of this on my own. Right. I went back to that several times. You did this on your own? On my own. Did Donald Trump have anything to do with it? No. Did you get the money from Donald Trump? No. From any of his organizations? No. From anybody connected to Donald Trump? No. Where did you get the money? I took out a HELOC loan against my property. I said, why would you do that? He said, I didn't want anybody to know where I got this money. I didn't want Melania to know. I didn't want my own wife to know because she's in charge, he said, of the Cohen family finances. He said, if she saw money coming out of my account, she'd ask me 100 questions, and I didn't want to answer any of them. It was clear after talking to him for several days after that, whenever we talked on the phone or in my office, that he kept on bringing up the subject that he felt he was betrayed by not being brought down to Washington, D.C. This guy thought, he said to me, that he should have been Attorney General of the United States, or at least the chief assistant to the president. Ludicrous, but that's what he thought. And he was very angry about that. He wanted to do something to put himself back into the inner circle of Donald Trump. That's why he took care of this on his own. There had to be a motivation. Michael Cohen is always working for things that benefit himself. And that's what he was doing here. That's completely different to what he said that he told the grand jury. That's completely different to what he's testifying to in New York. Nobody has heard this side of the equation.
Right.
Dennis, what's your take on that testimony?
Well, look, I think he hits it on the head. Michael Cohen is someone who looks out for Michael Cohen. And the fact that his aim was to embarrass Melania Trump simply because he wasn't rewarded with some position in the Trump White House. Again, it just goes to show that not only is Cohen sneaky and a fraud, which he's been convicted for, but it shows that he never really actually, I think, in my opinion at least, had Trump's best interests in mind. So here you have a man on Capitol Hill who I guess has not even been called to participate in this trial at all, because I think that what he just said there could be very critical to that case. And yet, you know, he's going to talk to a bunch of Republicans about it, and who knows if it's actually going to sway the needle whatsoever in terms of how people are viewing Cohen, especially leftist mainstream networks, which are trying to prop him up as much as they can, even though Cohen himself is making him look unreliable and a liar.
Don't be surprised when the defense has their chance to bring people up. If one of the things that they're not going to work diligently on is destroying the reputations and the backgrounds of Michael Cohen and Stormy Daniels, they are going to work at that very hard. Remember, they get the last laugh. And unlike the situation where Bragg and team have Michael Cohen sitting up there for 2 days saying about how Trump did this and Trump did that, and he had sex with this one, he had sex with that one, and Stormy Daniels saying all these elaborate stories. And then what happens with the defense is the best thing they could do is try to just discredit them and ask them questions that are a counter. Remember, there's two sides to the story. So the jurors that are in there right now, although they're hearing the evidence, if you will, from the defense, they do not want to get out of their mind the picture that was painted of Trump by Cohen and by Stormy Daniels when it was the prosecutors were going. The script flips in a big way when the defense goes, because the defense is not going to have that same lying person, the Stormy Daniels, whatever it may be. They're not going to have that. They're going to have a person who's coming in with credit and is going to sit, like this guy was a former prosecutor. He's going to come in and he's going to sit down. He's going to say, yeah, this is what he said to me. This is what he said to me. This is what he said to me. And then the prosecution has to go after those people and start to discredit them in a way that has no relevance to the actual case. So the jury is going to be, they're going to hear, remember, the last things they're going to hear in terms of testimony is the testimonies that come forward from the defense, and then, of course, the closing statements. But nonetheless, all we need is one person to say, I ain't doing it. So very interesting to see how that plays out. Now, with that being said, we have a lot of things here yet to go over with the show. One of the things I'm going to be talking about a little bit each day, and I'm going to try to get a guest on the program for either you or me to interview, but True the Vote. True the Vote works very, very hard at trying to make it so this way people understand election integrity and what people could do, because people always ask me, that's the number one question I get, all right, is how do I do my part in making sure that this election doesn't get stolen? Because you could take a look at the Great American Newsletter. Yeah, it's great. We're sending out information that people didn't even know. But at the same time, is you could send out all the information you want, right? But if you can't secure the vote, what's the difference? So True the Vote has this whole, and you could go find it yourself if you want to. Just go to truethevote.org. But they have this whole booklet on how to do your part. So what I'll do here without going too long is each day that we remember doing this, I will put out something that they say. Very interesting that we can all do, that I've never done. We moved from New York to Florida. We were on the voting rolls of New York, and we moved now to Florida. It is public record that we now are in Florida. So if the bad actors wanted to take our names still on the voter roll and use that for somebody else, because there's no ID, there's no voter ID in New York, you could just walk in simply and say, my name is Dennis Lynch, I live on XYZ, and yeah, there you go, you're going to go vote, you're going to go place a vote. So what True the Vote says, and I said this out to everybody else, go to your old state, no matter how long ago it was you moved, if you ever lived somewhere else, and look up the voter rolls and see if you're on that voter roll. And then you contact the election department and say, my name is still on the voter roll. I want my name removed. And you get confirmation of that. So that is a big, huge way of getting rid of these dead people and these duplicate people, that have moved on. That's one of the ways that they can't cheat. So that's what you do. Look up to your old state. In our case, it would be New York. Make sure your name is off that voter roll. So this way you're not voting twice. Once in the state of Florida, as I will, and then once in New York because somebody nefariously did that. And that's what you do. We're going to talk about some other stuff here as well. We are going to say goodbye now to people. We have to say goodbye because the things we're going to talk about, we can't do on Facebook, can't do on YouTube, can't do on Rumble, to be honest. You just even said about how George Soros has got his hands on over there. We are going to be talking and showing you videos that they won't let me do this on Facebook. We've still got things going on with deportations. We've got things going on with the Democrat vote. We've got, we're going to show you what a city now looks like after migrants have taken it over. We're going to talk about an Islamic center that is funding bail for criminals in California. We're going to talk about a lot of the stuff that's going on with the protesters. We're going to show you a video of an Israeli teen that was assaulted here in the United States by radicals, and a few other little things that, again, we can't show you. So what you do is you go to teamdml.com and you sign up to be a member. You could watch this entire video every single day without interruption. You get everything, all right? For as low as $2.50 a month, you get no ads, nothing. You help us stay in business to do what we're doing. If you have the DML News app, great. Just go to tab 5. You could become a Team DML member from tab 5 Interact to Team DML. If you don't have the DML News app, you could get that for free from the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store. You could look at it's the boys. The boys all day long have just a great news feed, along with Anita, who helps run the whole thing. I overlook it, and it's just fantastic. You could get that for free for the download. Download, help us stay in business, and that's all you need. So with everything out there, may God bless you and your family. Don't forget to go to greatagain.newsletter.com to sign up for the newsletter, and please give Team DML and the DML News app a quick look.
Get the Dennis Michael Lynch podcast every day by subscribing on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and download the DML News app from the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store for breaking news, merchandise, films, exclusive content, and Team DML.